I'm Dave Haddock, I'm the narrative director.
Adam Weezer, writer.
I'm Will Weisbaum, I'm the lead writer.
Sounds like you're one-upping Adam. What? I'm Mike Shell, and I'm the copywriter.
In sort of the early days when talking with Chris, the idea was we started very, very big, so very broad, and basically worked out 30 points in history that were sort of major historical events. So first contact with aliens, the first time they invented space travel, jump points, all these kind of major events that kind of drive the bulk of our universe, kind of to bridge the present day to the game's timeline. That was sort of the kind of initial approach, and then over the years we've basically just been filling in the details. What happened, the who, what, where, why, and how, and stuff like that. We have 5 races. There's the Vandal, Xi'an, Banu, Tavaran, and then a 5th one called the Kurthak.
With the Vandal, we knew that we needed a major adversary for humanity to be kind of up against, but we also didn't want them just to be faceless monsters. So there was that whole challenge of discussions of we needed a species that was really aggressive and could be a good adversary, but at the same time had levels of depth to them, some of which we aren't public with yet. We have our own secret plans that we have on the back burner.
They may seem like vicious killers, but there's more going on there than, because we were filling in a lot of this stuff before the game was even out, we wanted to save some things for people to discover.
The marketing stuff we do is a large part in lore. Like when we introduce a new ship, we have in-lore brochures that feel like you're going to the ship shop and you're picking it up and you're reading it.
Yeah. Perfect.
It's a whole event that's exhibition brochure that's all written in lore. We're going to have salespeople working booths that are in fiction characters, stuff like that. So
it takes place in Austin, but in lore, it takes place. We have a city in fiction called New Austin that's on a different planet, not on Earth.
Clearly, you're going. Oh, you have to give these people actual information, like where to actually go and where to, and stuff. But you're like, no, it's 2948. You're like, well, that's going to be a while.
it's all fun because at the end of the day, you're kind of coming up with weird. How does this alien culture deal with art and stuff like that? But it can get very technical if you start to get down into it, but the world building stuff is always fun because we're feeding off of like the designers and the artists and the work that they're doing.
Yeah, it's that triangle, as we like to describe it, is like any one of those sources can come up with an idea. Like design comes up with a cool gameplay scenario, art can come up with a cool environment idea, or we can come up with something that we want to introduce in lore, and then it goes around that triangle from point to point. So we hand off that idea and design works on it, then art makes it better, and then it comes back to us and we incorporate it. Loreville, we had a lot of it planned out, but until art started building the areas and doing their interpretation of what we had outlined for this city, well, there's all these train stops now, and we got to come up with like names for what the train lines are called, and like all these little details that flow out that you don't know about until they're there.
It always presents a very interesting challenge too, because in just naming something as simple as a train stop, you're like, well, what would inspire this city or this company? What are they naming it after? So it's like, is it after a family member? Is it a throwaway thing? So you need to give it that little extra thought as I just don't need to make up a few names. I need to make up names that make sense for that world or for that place, and that changes with every different planet too. So some places it may be a personal thing, some places it may just be very simple letter number combinations because they just want to do it efficient and have things be very, very clear. So it is a lot of fun because being able to think about it, those extra few steps does lend hopefully some additional authenticity that each place is special or a little bit its own, kind of like handcrafted to a certain degree.
You try to come up with a system that logistically makes sense for the flavor of this place, but also is kind of simple enough that you can pick up quickly and tells you the information you need to know. So,
my name is Jeremiah Lee. I'm the senior concept artist here at Cloud Imperium Games. So I'm currently working on the Hurston security outfits. So I've designed 3 ideas about what this armor suit could potentially look like in the game. Normally the concept guys would get a design brief, right? So the gameplay designers and also the writers give us a list of what characters they would want or armor set they would like in the game. And then we would take that and we would just start spitballing stuff. A lot of sketches, and then once we find the shapes that we like, and then we get approvals from my art director, Josh Herman, we start fleshing it out and then start filling out the little details that we might have missed in the sketch stage, right? To make it look more realistic, less generic, and we try to make it special. Right, so we do a lot of research on the outside and try to make beautiful artwork is pretty much what it is. And then once we get those approved, we'll present it to Chris and also the other art directors. And once they like, that's the one, then we'll ship it over to these guys behind me and then they'll build it. It's very hard to create things that don't exist without referencing something that does exist. So we do put a little bit of human elements in there so that way when people look at it, they can relate to it. This is for Hurston, so it's like a toxic planet with a little bit of Middle Eastern flair to it. We're not recreating boots, because boots will always be boots, right? Or like gloves will always be gloves. We'll take that basic shape of a boot and then just start to upgrade it, think about possible innovations in the future. I had to take a lot of consideration of what would look cool in a shot as well, in a game or in a cutscene. And because there's a lot of wind and there's a lot of sand, we thought like capes are pretty cool. So we started putting a lot more cloth so that it looks more organic and also a little bit of Middle Eastern with a lot of cloth. Because right here, that's the Marines. They're all hard surface, barely any cloth material at all. Because we wanted the Marines to look, can I say badass? Again, yes, badass. But then for these guys, we want them to look slightly regal. What type of material are available to that race or the group of people will influence a lot of the shape language, a lot of the colors as well. Most planets don't have endless amounts of minerals or elements, right? There's a specific amount. While keeping that in mind, we might make a planet that's all ice, right? If it's just all ice, maybe they don't have silver. we might do that, right? And so we might make it where maybe silver is very rare in that planet. Then maybe a lot of the upper echelon would wear silver to flaunt it off. There's a lot of things that go on. So material and textures can really help the narrative and the look of an asset. So it's not just clothing, it's hairstyles, what they eat. What is good etiquette here is considered really terrible in a different place or a different planet. We take cues from pretty much what we see around us on a day-to-day basis and also just what's happening currently in the world to kind of influence what might possibly happen outside. You have to jump off of a platform. You can't just jump and hit something. I think that's what really sells authenticity, is to do your research, really figure out all the little details. And those little details, even though you might not see it from afar, it really brings everything together in the whole picture.